Inner Voice, a heartfelt chat with Dr. Foojan.
Introducing a powerful new update from the Foojan app. Now with flexible subscription plans to fit your journey monthly, quarterly, or yearly. Our new AI-driven onboarding customizes your path to feeling better, faster, and enjoy a refreshed experience with stunning 3D interactive videos. Update now. Empower your inner voice with Foojan. Download today.
Listen up if you want to promote your personal growth and self-awareness. I found the Foojan app last month and I have been absolutely loving it. I personally have never learned guided meditation, but thanks to this app, I now have learned incredible tools for my own stress relief and emotional self-awareness. Not to mention, there are self-evaluation tools and professional coaching available to utilize however your journey to self-discovery takes you. Join Foojan today and redefine your life one step at a time.
Welcome to The Inner Voice, a heartfelt chat podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Foojan Zeine. I'm a psychotherapist and an author and the creator of the Awareness Integration Theory. So thrilled to have you join me. Today, I'm going to talk to Omid Nemati. It's an interesting conversation. It's a little bit more conceptual, a little bit more philosophical, and very interesting because I've known his work for a while. I've had him here at the podcast 4 years ago, and he has a new book out. So it's an interesting concept that I'm intrigued, and a lot of times at the beginning, I'm like, what? And then it kind of explains itself. So Omid Nemati, his formal education is a postgraduate of business administration, and he's a pilot instructor in general aviation. So his active writing journey started around 2013, and the core idea has been to create a tool that can navigate us as humans, both as individuals and as communities, such as families, organizations, nations, and global population. So through various situations, he authored the notion of APS, which is inspired by GPS. It works by recognizing possibilities through coordinated perspectives, which is a highly detailed concept. So APS, with its many integrated tools, is based on the idea of consilience. So bringing everything together. With the help of today's technology, it actually does enable different scientific experts, whether individual bodies or organizations, publications, to contribute their input and to bring a cohesive body of work, which brings the perspectives together. So APS then collects the data and generates a collective APS perspective, a point of view that is more general, right? Community-based, which could lead to and or scientific inventions. This approach allows us to understand the range of probable possibilities that may occur in the future, whether for an individual, a community, or an organization. This is how APS was developed and came into existence. So his first publication was released in 2019. It's a novel title and a novel idea, which was called The Human Mind, MIND, and Patterns of Characters. That book was interesting. You could always go back and check his name in my podcast. And in 2019, you'll hear that we talked about it almost 4 years ago. We talked about that. And that book talks about our internal process and how each part of our character, based on its needs at that moment, shows up in this stage and behaves with its own needs and behaviors and feelings, but it shows up and behaves while other parts kind of like take the back seat until this one is complete or another one is needed. And it was a fabulous idea. He's very innovative in conceptualization. So I hope that this conversation is as intriguing for you as it has been for me. So today we'll be talking about this new book, which is called APS. And the A is from Acos Positioning System, Evolving Communication Tool for Tomorrow. Again, I think it's a very, very innovative idea, conceptualizations, and I hope you enjoy it. Now, be sure to subscribe to my podcast and my YouTube channel and connect with me through my website, foojanzeine.com, or any of the social medias. Go, connect with yourself with any of my social, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn. Be sure to go get the Foojan app. It's an app that is inspired by awareness integration theory, 31 areas of your life. You can go through journaling, meditation, skill building, all of those. And then we also have Mira, which is an AI chatbot, which is trained specifically in the awareness integration theory and can answer your questions about your life or about any of the areas of your life. So I love to hear from you. So please contact me, connect with me. And without further ado, here's Omid Nemati.
Intentional Parenting, a practical guide to awareness integration theory, written by Dr. Jafari, Dr. Foojan Zeine, and Dr. Manoukian, 3 experts in human development, is your step-by-step guide to raising a healthy child prepared for a culturally integrated world. You're supported in parenting infants to adolescents using the latest evidence-based scientific research on parenting. Order your copy on Amazon now. Are you a psychotherapist looking to enhance your practice? The Awareness Integration Therapy developed by Dr. Foojan Zeine is a comprehensive guide to the principle and techniques of this powerful therapeutic approach. Join the growing community who have elevated their practice and expanded their skills by embracing awareness integration therapy and witnessing its life-changing impact. Order your copy on Amazon now.
I'm so excited to have Omid Nemati with us. This is the second time that he is a guest on our show, and this is his second book that he's written, and I'm all excited to hear about this new book because it expands so much more from the first ideas that you've had, and you've taken it to a whole different level. So welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. And thank you for getting me the chance to have the honor to be on your show for the second time after almost 4 years.
After 4 years. And at the time that I was talking to you, you were in Dubai, in the Emirates, and then now you are in Canada, in Ottawa.
Right. That's right. Yes.
Very much an international author and philosopher, and you've come up with really interesting idea. So today we're going to talk about your latest book, which is, let me show it to everyone so they can know what it looks like and where they can get it, because I think it's important for you guys to get this book because it is amazing. So it is APS, Evolving Communication Tool for Tomorrow. And APS is actually Acos Positioning Systems. So it's a way of, you bring it into distinct level, which is 2 ideas that everything can go to look from that angle. One is, how do things happen? And then why do we do what we do? And so this is how first the ACOS, which was the positioning system, was a groundbreaking framework that got created. And then based on that, then you added the next level to it. So can you explain to all of us in details what each of these are?
Well, to make it very short and sweet, I refer to it as tomorrow's literacy. And people, they say, okay, well, literacy is reading and writing. I mean, what has it got to do with literacy? And I explain about how the history of human communication. If you look it up, when the verbal communication started, I mean, you get some references refer it to 50,000 years ago and some to 200,000. It won't really matter. At some point, we started using verbal communication. So before that, they were using sign language and noises to say, okay, water or danger, lion, trees, river, whatever. And then at some point they said, look, we can actually call this tree, right? So this is tree. So they use this code to somehow explain or transmit their perception to the other people, their perspective to other people. So although each word hasn't got exact meaning for everyone, so my perception, my perspective about tree would be different to someone else, or about happiness would be different, but somehow it's okay. So, and it's got a speed similar to how internet has got a speed. So I explain my perception and my perspective to other people. So when verbal communication started, the speed increased. So they could like use so many of these words to say what they mean. And then 4,500,000 years passed and nothing happened. And then they came only around 5,000 years ago and said, look, we actually can use alphabets. So we can write down our perspectives, and other people in other geographical location can receive it, or when we can kind of like put something on the stone and they'll see it, or people in the future can read it. And then we are still using verbal communication. Now I am using verbal communication to explain my perspectives about tomorrow's literacy, tomorrow's communication to people today. Tomorrow, and all of that, all of these communication were basically for one thing, one thing, and that is responding to our genetic needs. And that's all. So when I say genetic needs, means everything that we do, everything that drives our behavior. So from food and water and all the way to helping other people and everything, right? So human invents to respond better to these genetic needs.
And also to relate with each other, because part of our genetic need is also to be together. So the relationship that we have with each other and gaining those needs, we actually need a very efficient communication tool to be able to facilitate all of that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So looking back, I mean, when I was kind of like all of these things happened in my imagination, like every other inventions that has happened, it's always been in one person's or a group of people's imagination and gradually came to existence, and we can see it or use it or talk about it. So when I was imagining it, I could see that like people, each individual, pretty much everything that you can think of is moving on a timeline in between the situations. So a human is like moving from one situation to another. So from these current moments, which I refer it as to current Acos, everything about me, Omid, is kind of like explained. So everything about Omid, my financial situation, my age. For example, when I started communicating with you, I was approximately 10 minutes younger than now. But now in these 10 minutes, I got 10 minutes older. My blood pressure was going up and down, my sugar level, my financial situation, maybe some of these Bitcoins gone up and down, So all of that is changing. So basically, I am moving from one situation to the neighboring situation. And there are so many factors that impact which of so many situations I move to. And the same about Dr. Foojan. So if, like, for example, Dr. Foojan goes to a situation that, for example, we get disconnected somehow, then this meeting will finish. So I go to a situation that I won't see Dr. Foojan anymore, right? So it's just like, because now we are a group of two. So how you move between the situations, among the situations, will impact how I move. And that's the same scenario about every groups and communities and people on a city, a country, and the human history. So if we add up all of these situations together, we'll see how the human history is like forming from one situation to the other. So it's very detailed, but tomorrow they don't sit and talk for billions of hours and hours to talk about so many things by verbal communication. They say, okay, this is the situation where we want to be. And to get there, that's how other humans who are involved should move through the situations. So basically that will increase the quality of human life, because we have better communication, we have better understanding, a lot less misunderstanding, and therefore better well-being for human.
So is it like a predictive model, which it predicts about not only looking at every moment in how we're affecting each other, impacting each other, how our internal process shows up? Because I remember as you developed this model, as I heard it 4 years ago, and I was interviewing you, a lot of that model, the Acos, had to do with different parts of us, how we are aware, how different parts of us almost show up on a stage, depending on the need of that, if that area of whatever the need was genetically coming from inside or the situation from outside, as you share, that the different parts of us would come into the stage of awareness, let's say, and would do what it needs to do. And then obviously the other parts of us would give information to it or would share the need. But one part of us would show up, like at work, one part of us show up. We're talking to, our mate, the part that needed to be out at that moment would show up, or, it could exchange, like something would happen. My mate would say something, and then another part of me show up on the stage and would take over. So that was more about the internal process and how it would show up. And you've kind of shifted that into, moved it along into now a communication process from internally to the external. And then does this process become more predictive about how the human beings will work through the future and how we're kind of like negotiating or communicating about what will look like in the future?
Exactly. I mean, as far as the scientific facts, the current scientific facts can contribute. Mm-hmm. So to just give a wider picture, APS is like how we are moving from one situation to the other as an individual, organization, or human. Then it comes to two segmentation. One thing, the things that we can change and we can do something about it. And that part will be related to the MIND model, MIIND, which my previous book was about kind of like everything about human, how our inner communication, genetic needs, cognition, and the life circumstances. And the other part, the things that we cannot change, and the things that we cannot do anything about it, well, we cannot. But what we can do will be, one part of it be like our self-awareness, and the other one will be basically any scientific facts. Anything that is discovered will be merged and plugged into the APS with the tools that have been invented and is facilitating these APS, which is called Attacko. So Attacko, it's ATYCTO, Attacko, and it stands for anything you can think of. So Attacko is like a tool which collects bits of information and data and findings from individuals, publications, organizations, whatever that can contribute. And it puts it together and generate one unified perspective, which is very powerful. I mean, nowadays we can put our money together and say, okay, you've got $10, you've got 10, I've got another 10, then 10 people is $100. But so far, up to today, there is no tool that can add up perspectives. Attacko is that tool that collects each other's knowledge and perspectives and put it together, similar to how we add up our money together and become more powerful.
Isn't so that generative AI has been doing, such as ChatGPT?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and in your book, you also explore the kind of intersection between the APS and the AI, and how ChatGPT or other ones have done. So, what is kind of the difference between an APS where it collects all the data from out there, all the scientific data, and brings it into like a unified perspective because it takes things from every one of them? How is that a difference between, for example, right now, ChatGPT, which is collecting data from everything, and people are and people are giving it data, right? People are also giving it data. Like every time I go into ChatGPT and ask something or give it something, it's collecting all of that data and my perspective and adding to it.
Yeah, it's how it's been done. So, I mean, even like before ChatGPT, 100 years ago, a group of people can get together, have a meeting and think and communicate and come up with a solution, right? I can compare it to before numbers were invented. So before numbers were invented, people, they still lived. They still kind of like dealt with each other. They gave eggs and collected bread or whatever. And then numbers came and generated unified code of quantity for quantity and quality. So ChatGPT still does that. Yes, that's right. Similar to how it has been happening, but with extremely higher quality. It's a lot faster. The speed and quality of these data gathering is a lot faster in ChatGPT. However, it hasn't got coordinated perspective. So when I talk about coordinated perspective, it's like a code that is unique. So, for example, these kind of, when you say these Acos, there is only one of these. And that is similar to the invention of number, and that means that cannot change, So it's a lot more powerful, and it gives the ability of people from different backgrounds with any scientific education or knowledge or ability to plug in their perspective precisely, something that is cannot change. So they say that is precisely my perspective about this particular thing. However, it's not possible to give it completely precisely, but the tool enables you. So if you have the ability to give all the knowledge, the tool in APS facilitate you for that. So that is something that is very, very different to ChatGPT. So that means similar to where you are sitting now, it has got a very unique geographical coordination. So if you give me your GPS location precisely, there is only one of those. Similar to that, in APS, we've got only when we give coordination to someone or something's perspective, there is only one of those, which can be used in generating other perspectives. It gets very detailed, but just to keep it simple and give very short answer and summarize all I said, APS gives a lot more powerful and deeper understanding of extracting and unifying information and data together.
So APS is still a tool for just simplifying the concept. It is still a tool. I don't know if I would call it software, but it's a tool that is it open to people, or is it closed where only certain perspective goes in there? Just as an example, the ChatGPT, it's an open concept, which is taking anything from anywhere and just, dumping it in there. Is APS not that, which it doesn't take everything from everywhere, but people put in their perspective within the system?
It's open. Everyone can put their perspective on the system, but that doesn't mean that they are right and it can be used. because at the end, some people have got to kind of like comment on these perspectives. Some people who have skills and expertise in that particular concept, but everyone will have the chance to put their perspective. Similar, I mean, if the best thing is like to compare to reading and writing, everyone has got the ability to read and write anything. I mean, I can write as a person, or anyone can write anything they like, but that doesn't necessarily mean that this is right,
Right, but you said like the application is it can be used in HR training or psychotherapy or personal development. So I'm still trying to figure out, based on what you're saying, is so a company, for example, starts using APS for people who are their employees or their customers, right? So how does these perspectives get involved in, application of it? How does the company use that? How do people engage in it for the company to be able to use it? And what is the benefit of, for example, the APS as it shows up? Does it facilitate communication within the company and the customers and, whatever is out there based on the knowledge that it's been given to it?
Okay. As a company, well, the customers don't know APS, but the company, imagine that they've done training, for example, a certain number of training, and they know how to use the basic level of APS. So that means the management and the employment and the HR department and everyone knows APS. So that means they give their perspectives about how things needs to be done, can be done better in the company in the framework that are given to them, which is called Attacko. So, for example, someone say, okay, it's better if we come at 9 o'clock. It's better if we serve tea and coffee. Some people say no. So it converts each individual perspective, employees' perspectives about how they think things should be done. And it's dynamic. They can change it anytime. And it collects all these perspectives and generate a unified perspective for the management. And the management can look at it, think it's right, it's not right. And then since one particular area is different to other, then he can zoom in and say, okay, well, someone suggested to give gift vouchers to our customers, for example. Then say, okay, this perspective relates to Julie, which 3 days ago put it on the system. And then say, Julie, why do you think we should give gift vouchers? And Julie say, because of this, and that, and then ask other employees to put their input, and then it updates the unified perspective. So, and then management says, okay, it's a good idea, but I like it or I dislike it at the end, but it makes the communication very fast. Or someone says, okay, for example, doing this in the company really demotivates me. But if you make this small change, for example, using, I don't know, AI in writing letters or something like that would kind of make my life easier and I won't be demotivated as much, and the management look at it and say, yes, I can change it or not. So everything happens very rapidly,
And it's live. What you're saying is this is live. So at every moment, people can be feeding into it, and very quickly it calculates, brings it together, it integrates pretty much all the data that is there around it, and then offers it. And then it's up to, people to add to it or take it, leave it, choose what they want to about it. But what APS does, it's like a software that actually brings in data, integrates it rapidly live every minute, and offers what it got from everything that it got.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that's where you're saying the application can be utilized in many formats because it just makes the communication more cohesive, and it brings all the angles in, and rapidly you have access to so much data at every moment in front of you that that supports you to make decisions based on a bigger perspective, really, versus just yours.
Absolutely. Plus that, the management hasn't got all the required knowledge, because then they have access to so many other out of companies inputs about how things can be done better. So he can look into those also and be faced with recommendation of the software that, okay, you can do this, you can do that, you can kind of like, some people can work from home or this and that,
So it strengthens the speed and the quality of the communication based on the data that it's capturing and bringing. So it depends if a company is using. I guess the question I have is, does the APS collect? Is it like an open concept that collects everything in the world but specifies what you need? For example, when I play with ChatGPT, it brings me the perspective of the world, but it also personalizes with me, because when I have an account with ChatGPT, it remembers what my interests are. It remembers what I want. So when I'm asking it to create, for example, a letter for me, it remembers. This is Dr. Foojan Zeine, who had created awareness integration therapy. So now, for example, whenever I say something, can you create a letter for me from this perspective? It gives me perspectives from around the world. But at the end, it also says, from awareness integration theory's perspective, because it remembers that I'm Dr. Foojan Zeine who created that. So it keeps feeding what it knows from my interests in there. So is APS also this open access, which it has everything from everywhere, anywhere in the world that is fed it, and it has those, but it also specializes it, personalizes it to that person? Or if a company is using APS, it only has the data from that company and all that, for example, HR management and, the employees are feeding it because of the culture of that company only.
Well, it's like the second one, right? It's you can customize it, but this is not. This invention is not related to APS. It has been there always, that you could customize to remember something and filter things. It's just like you go to a bookstore and purchase the books that you like, and then you tell someone that, okay, this is my area. So if anything in this area comes, send me an email, This is not related to APS, but this is kind of like an existing technology that has been invented and used by other application. And the APS, of course, welcome that facilities and has got that tool also, However, the APS is actually skill rather than software. So many software can be used based on APS. So APS is kind of like the platform that allows software like ChatGPT or any other software to operate using APS platform, So it is kind of like very, very basic, kind of like fundamental, yes.
So the book is about explaining this platform and explaining how you could create those softwares or tools and all of them from this philosophy.
Exactly.
All
So
right.
put it this way, then it builds it all the way up, which we'll get to it, to make a communication language in between human and AI.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like very, very, very fundamental. That's explained how things happen in a way that it can come to our perception and also AI to a limitation. But at one point, AI will exceed that, and there is nothing we can do about it.
And you talk about actually in your book around how to have a mutual respect between the human and the AI and the form of communication and the way that it's kind of like integrating itself and all the information. Can you share a little bit about that?
The deepest level that we can get as a human about how things happen is perspective. We cannot get anything any deeper than that. So our perception generates our perspective, and then smallest perspective about different things make other perspectives. That's the deepest level that we can go. And the deepest level, in my personal opinion, up until now, and I don't see how it's going to change, to make it powerful and manageable is generated coordinated perspective. So similar to like your telephone number that is unique to you and it never changes, the coordinated perspective make it very unique. So we know exactly what we are talking about, as the deepest level, which kind of like among other perspectives, make bigger perspectives. So AI will easily understand this form of communication in a much faster speed. In terms of quality, again, yeah, that's arguable. So that's the border of our communication as a human to AI. That's the deepest level that we can go. But because AI processes the information faster, then there is a possibility that AI can, there are two zones. AI can get to a zone that we have not reached there. That means come to perspective that we have not invented yet, put it that way. Similar to how 100 years ago, people did not have any perspective about internet, MacBook, mobile, whatever, right? But now, as a human, we came to that. We have perspective about that and it invented. So AI will start moving faster because the AI can process the information faster. Not in everything, in a few areas can go much faster. That's the zone one. And the next one, AI possibly will get to an area that will be beyond human perspective. That means that we won't have any perspective about it. And because as a result of that,
we can't even fathom it at this point. Like when it shows up, then we can have a perspective about it because we have an experience. But at this time, you're saying that there is a predictability that it will get somewhere, which will invent things that none of us have ever thought about anyway. So we can't have a perspective yet around it.
And then the next zone, we even will not have perspective about it. It's scary.
What do you mean? Next zone, we don't have a perspective about it.
Okay, for example, if like there is a noise above below 20 hertz or above 200,000 hertz, we won't hear it. So that is still is not as bad. I mean, that is kind of like because we still know what the frequency is, right? But we won't be able to sense it because our sensory unit hasn't got the capability to collect it and bring it to our mind to be processed. But there are similar, I mean, in one of the piece of writings that I had, and I said, imagine like there is a butterfly on your hand and you take a photograph of it and WhatsApp it to your friend in another country, for example, in, I don't know, Belgium or Germany. If you explain that to people 100 years ago, they wouldn't know what you're talking about. But today, everyone knows that. But the butterfly never understands it, never. Hasn't got any perspective about the world, internet, population, even like butterflies in a few hundred years' time, they won't come to that perspective. That is very likely that happens about human too. And AI can reach that. So it can, the zone one will be, I mean, it has the existing pre-entry zones, I would say, were somewhere that we gave the data and it just processed it. And then it came up until now. That's still pretty much talks about what we already have invented, or sometimes comes with some ideas, which is not too difficult to understand. If I don't understand it, a group of experts can sit together and understand it. Then it will go to an area that we still have not invented, but we will once AI invents it. They say, oh yeah, actually we could have like peace with two countries. We could have, I don't know, these kind of tools, or even the relationship could be better, whatever, so many things. And then the next one was the scariest one. And if we don't have these coordinated perspective tools, we won't have the understand to trace how the AI got to that zone. Then it starts get access to a zone that's we will have no perspective about it. It's beyond our perception, or at least some part of it is beyond our perception. Yes, sorry.
So coming back to today, where the book offers does the book offer the formula, in a sense, of how to bring human to human communication in a much more speedier way, where it collects all the perspectives of any individual? 8 billion people on the face of the earth can have an accessibility where all these perspectives can come in and merge. And that's what you have created to be able to offer, where from that kind of a philosophical background, then softwares or, all the technology can take this position and then make it into an applicable tools.
The applicable perspective, because it will be a unified, a unified perspective of like what the world population think about one particular thing. I mean, how it may not be possible to get, it won't happen that everyone put their inputs in it.
Right.
But in theory, yes, that is possible. However, immediately, as soon as it's done, AI has access to it. As soon as it's done.
Mm-hmm.
So before that, it's very, very crucial and important that we understand what I refer to as behavioral scale of AI. So human has got behavioral scale, which means how we move within the situation as an individual. My behavioral scale is different to yours, to someone else. And then the human as a creature has got a behavioral scale. Cat has got a behavioral scale in how moves through the situation. Cat doesn't fly. We don't fly. So that part is very similar, but kind of like a bird can fly, but still has got a common behavioral scales. The bird still eats, AI, similar to other creatures, already has behavioral scale. So it's like moving in between situations. And that's the deepest level that we can understand AI. So the best thing is we make mutual understanding and have mutual respect as kind of like independent kind of entity, like a different creature, to deal with us as human. Because at some point AI will get in many aspects more powerful than human. And that is where, as human, we are in danger. So we need to declare to AI by APS, which is our common language, that we will be having mutual respect. Let's have mutual respect.
Everyone, this is a very unique book, which will give you a very unique perspective on all perspective and how to bring all perspectives together. So APS, Evolving Communication Tool for Tomorrow. And what APS is Acos Positioning System by Omid Nemati. Omid, where can people find you and your books and your material?
If they put Acos Positioning System by Omid Nemati, even in ChatGPT, they can ask about APS. They can tell us that I'm in this such and such circumstances on the APS framework. What should I do? Okay, it doesn't give very detailed yet, but ChatGPT can, based on APS framework, give you some advice. I don't guarantee that it's going to be helpful at the moment, but hopefully it will be powerful. And even in ChatGPT, if they put Omid Nemati books, then they can, and in some countries like Dubai, you can purchase my book from the bookshelves. In some countries, you can kind of like do POD, print on demand, and it gets printed and delivered to your door.
Okay. Are you on Amazon or not?
Yes, it's on Kindle, Amazon, the soft copy, the hard copy, yes.
Okay, beautiful. Anything we haven't shared that you really want people to know as the last word that you want to share with them in this program?
The most important thing for human is responding to our needs. For responding to our needs, we need invention. We have invented communication, verbal communication. APS is the tomorrow's literacy, which is again an invention. It may not be called APS, and I might not be known as the inventor, but the principle is the same. Whoever that invents it or reinvent it, put it, or if it's already invented, maybe by some people, I don't know. And then the next level is having the communication with AI and have mutual respect. And again, I would say mutual respect and communicating with AI.
Yeah, we created an AI chatbot, which is called Mira, as part of the app, the Foojan app that we're offered. And the AI is trained in the awareness integration theory. So I can absolutely agree with you with the respect that we've had to give Mira in order to train Mira in a way that it has become very empathic and respectful to any of the people that wanted to use it, everyone who was a user. And the training that had to be done with all the information, it's very interesting. When you shared that to me, this is how it landed for me. You know how you have a child, and I'm sure many of the people who are listening, they have this experience of giving birth to a child, and they give everything that they know to the child, and they're trying to train the child, and they do, and yet from another perspective, the child grows up and goes even beyond the parent, way beyond the parent that they were training, and giving all the information. And yet, the discipline and everything that a parent gave at the beginning, it becomes the essence of that child and the training of that child as they grow up, and then they move on to the next level. And then sometimes the parents say, wow, I never thought about my child, becoming, evolved in such a way. So it resonated with me as you were talking about AI and how you could give it data and you could give it training and you could respect it and, ask for respect back. And someday it's going to grow up to a place where, it's going to be very, very beyond what any parent who's been creating it will, and the society will ever think of. And hopefully it'll be beautiful. And yes, could it have the dangers around it too? Also, yes. But I'm also sensing that like any human being, when you're giving it the right values and you give it love and respect, that it will also take those, no matter what comes in front of it, it also holds those and the basic value that hopefully are, as human beings, as we're training AIs anywhere, that we also give it those kind of, humane values within it so that it holds those regardless. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to have the honor to be on your show again.
Thank you. It's amazing. I always learn from you. And usually with the way I learn from you, you talk and I'm like, huh? and then slowly but surely it just kind of like falls into place for me. But I've had the same experience with your first book, which I had read it. And, I kept listening to your audios that you had sent me and read the book. So I'm just saying this for everyone who's out there, that as you're reading it, if you have the same reaction, some of you might be just brilliant and get whatever he's saying that is like, yo, I got it. And some of you might have a reaction like me, what are you talking about? And then, slowly but surely it comes in and then kind of lands and we get it. So thank you. Thank you for taking the opportunity to be with us and share your new invention with everyone. And for all of you who are out there, create an amazing life for yourself and for everyone around you. And until next week, bye.
Break free from the forces holding you back. Get the life you deserve. Eliminate stress, reduce anxiety, decrease depression, and start living your full potential. Thousands have used Dr. Foojan Zeine's awareness integration theory, an evidence-based behavioral health breakthrough with incredible life-changing results. Getting rid of past trauma, having fulfilling relationships, increasing earnings, and living their best life. Now, the Foojan app is available to everyone. The app is Dr. Foojan Zeine's awareness integration theory in the palm of your hand. Download the Foojan app today.